What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. And today I'm actually going to go through and review the trading week from the 11th of January to the 15th of January in 2021. New trading year, so it means a lot of new opportunities. It's pretty much the year's just getting started, so it's a great time to kind of start getting into some habits to actually set yourself up for success through the year in trading. Now, I like to personally spend my weekends or a couple hours on the weekends reviewing trades from the week gone past and getting ready for the week ahead. The market's kind of stops. You're not kind of having that noise from the market continuously moving. It's a bit more kind of quiet as well. So I like to take the opportunity on weekends, like I said, sit down, reflect, and review the charts. So let's get into it. So I personally spend most of my time, or all my time, trading pound yen, the GBP JPY. As you can see on my trading view, I've got like also watches on all these other instruments on the side here, but I predominantly just spend my time just watching GJ here. And so what I like to start doing is taking the time and seeing what the market's done recently. So to get an idea of what the trend is doing, then kind of work from there and try and create like a plan for the week. So as you can see, it's been a bit of an uptrend. So you've got the impulse, correction, kind of bit of an impulse there. Went sideways for a bit, and then now it's gone through another bit of an impulse here. Um, and what I tend to do when I trade is usually use just the supply support and resistance areas and price action at those zones. So look for the overall trend and then mark up my charts where certain support and resistance areas are, and then watch price action in that area and determine whether it's going to be a buyer or sell, it's going to move higher or lower. So let's drop down. So you can see this is on the daily here. So we'll drop down to the lower time frames quickly, and we'll just quickly review what happened during this week. So I'll go back to the daily chart actually. So last week ended, I'll just zoom in here a bit, ended just here. That candle. So that was the Friday last week or Saturday last week if you're in the States. Or Friday last week. So you can see here, kind of close below this area of resistance. It's kind of came up here, tested once, dropped down a little bit, tested again, came back down, dropped down again, came back up again, tried breaking through. Then, as you can see, it just kind of closed here. Now, because the trend is in upwards trajectory, I was looking more so for buys. So I was expecting this area to kind of break at some point, and you can see here it kind of has. So let's drop down to the 4 hour and actually see what happened. So as we said, last week ended around this 141.05 area. So it kind of came up, tried breaking above, but then came back down and just closed below. This week opened pretty much where it closed, dropped back down a little bit. Now, the other area I was looking at was this 140.50. So price kind of came up previous week, had a bit of a struggle through this area here to kind of break above it. Get rid of these bloody ads. I don't pay for the premium subscription of TradingView, as you can see. So yeah, so I was looking at this area at this 140.50. So price came up, tested, dropped, kind of came up to this area a few times and couldn't break it, but then eventually did. So it was an area I was kind of just monitoring because you can see here as it was trying to come back up again for the final push of the previous week. It had a little bit of resistance in this area here. So I was looking at this area as it might be an area of support as it has broken. And then, yeah, so this week started, came down, tested this area, and then shot up. And the other area I've been looking at as a resistance area is this 142. And this is where always looking left to see what's happened previously on the charts. And this is where the price kind of came up and then made a massive kind of impulse move down. So that was a good area of resistance on the chart. So zoom back in here. So one of the trades I actually took, like I said, I thought it was the price was moving in an upwards trajectory, so I was looking for longs. I had a feeling it was going to kind of find support in this area, so I did actually take a long in this spot here. So just mark the tool here, grab the long position. So I'll just pop this over here for a moment. So I took my entry on a 30-minute time frame. Let's scroll over here. We'll zoom into this area just over here quickly. So you can see here it's kind of failed to kind of break below. Had a lot of exhaustion at this area at that kind of minor trend line. So I decided to take the trade from actually about what was it? Around here actually. That's where I took the trade last week. And I always use, when I trade pound yen, I always use a 40 pip stop loss. I'll go back to a high time frame now so it's a bit easier to see. So you almost see there it's kind of just entered on this area here where it's kind of made a bit of a pin bar kind of thing. So I always use just 40 pip stop loss. So get into that. The tick level is 40 pips, so that's just recorded as 400. And you always try to go for at least 2 to 1 or 3 to 1. So as I said, I was looking at that 142 area, so I literally took it all the way up to that 142. So you can see that there now. Oops. Let's tidy this up a little bit. So you can see there, that's a 3.86 to 1 ratio. You're risking 40 pips for 150 pips. And that's actually a really, really good trade to kind of take. And then once it actually hit this area of 142, because of this massive kind of impulse move down from, let's look over here left, from this 142 area, let's zoom in here. That's where I was looking at a potential sell for this week. So come back over here. So you can see here, it dropped down, it kind of corrected a bit initially from that 142, kind of faked out, tried breaking above, dropped back down, came up again, and then you could actually see it close below that 142. So that's where I was kind of taking that trade from for the sell. So same thing, grab the short position and pop it here. I actually took this off the 4 hour. Now, if you're a regular trader, you know that sometimes GJ is quite volatile. So you need to have quite a large stop loss sometimes. So I use a 440 pip stop loss, as I said. So it's above the highs of those previous candles. And I was actually just taking it down to this area here of minor kind of support. So you can see there, price kind of struggled to break above that area previously. So that's where I was actually looking at taking it down to. So I'll enter that as 141.05. So same thing as a 2 to 1 risk reward. So risking 40 pips to make over 80 pips. Now remember guys, whenever you're taking trades, you always want to make sure that your risk reward ratio is either 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 or either higher than 2 to 1. Because you want to make sure that whatever you're risking, you're going to get a reasonable return from. Now, like I said, most traders do tend to take trades with a 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 or higher ratio, so that no matter what they're risking, they're making a greater return. Because there's no point in risking, say, 40 pips for 10 pips return kind of thing. It's just illogical because if you have the losing trade, you're losing 40 pips, whereas if you have a win, it's only 10 pips. So you want to have like an asymmetric risk reward ratio where your return is higher than what you're risking. And with that, when your risk reward ratios are 2 to 1 or higher, it means that you don't have to be right every time. You can have losses and still become profitable over time. So with 2 to 1, you can be right 50% of the time and still be profitable over time. Um, with 3 to 1, you only have to be right 1 in 3 trades and still be profitable over the long run. So it means that you don't have to be right every single trade. It allows for some losses and it means you can actually still grow. And remember, guys, with leaving money in the bank doing nothing, you're not getting anywhere near 2% return. And if you're risking only 2% per trade and being right once every second trade or third trade, you're still making that 2% per week if you're taking 1 trade every week or 2 trades every week, kind of thing. Okay, so let's take a look at what's going to happen for the week ahead. So, as I said, the overall trend is still up. It is finding a little bit of resistance in this area, but I am still looking at it as a for a potential slight move higher. So what I'm watching for, or slight move higher before it actually kind of comes down again, and there's a few areas here which I've kind of highlighted from my charting where it could actually come down to. So let's zoom in, or quickly before I do that, I'm thinking it might come to this 142.6 area, which I kind of highlighted earlier as an area of minor kind of support or resistance. So you can even look at it over here. It's kind of come all the way back here. It's had a bit of support before it did finally break down. And when it kind of came up in this area, it did kind of wick down from that area. So it could still come up and fill that wick area. So let's drop down to the 4 hour. So as you can see, then as the week ended last week, it kind of found a bit of support in this area here, this 140.05, 141.05. But the final candle of the week did come down. So I'm waiting to see how the market opens on Monday morning um, before I take any trades. So what I'm looking at, I'm actually watching this area here and this area just here to see how price reacts before it moves higher again. So I'm thinking that it could kind of come down, test this area just here, or before it kind of comes up. Now then it could either come up to here um, before moving down again, or come up higher. Now I am looking at it to come back to potentially either this area here. You could have a bit of a resistance area just here, so you can see towards the end of last week it kind of did have a bit of support trying to move before it broke through it. So I'm going to try and watch that area there. Or it could, like I said, come all the way up higher to here again before making a impulse down to somewhere like here. Now, like I said, I look at the areas where it has had made a massive impulse move from to see if we look for areas of support or resistance. So that for 142, 142.6 area was an area where it made a massive impulse down. So it has made a bit of an impulse move down now. I'm kind of broken structure a little bit. So let's see how it kind of plays out during the week um, at those areas, because same thing could also move down from there. And then